Imagine being chased through the night by a super-strong predator with glowing eyes, hunting you and your family relentlessly for thousands of years. Sounds like something out of a horror movie, right? Well, this is exactly what Danny Vendramini's Neanderthal Predation Theory proposes. According to him, Neanderthals were savage nocturnal creatures that nearly hunted early humans to extinction, leaving only a handful of survivors who had to adapt and fight back to save our species. But how much of this theory is based on reality, and how much is just a good story? In this video, we're going to break down the Neanderthal Predation Theory and see if it holds any weight. Along the way, we'll explore what really happened between Neanderthals and early Homo sapiens, and why we shouldn't be too quick to believe in theories that sound like nightmares. The Neanderthal Predation Theory suggests that Neanderthals were not just another species of human, but apex predators who actively hunted our ancestors. Vendramini claims that Neanderthals had large nocturnal eyes, were incredibly strong, about 6 times stronger than the average human, and relentlessly preyed on early Homo sapiens for over 50,000 years. This continuous predation supposedly caused deep psychological and physical changes in humans, making us more aggressive, smarter, and ultimately the dominant species. According to this theory, a small group of human survivors, maybe as few as 50 people, managed to outlast the Neanderthals by becoming better hunters and warriors. They eventually launched a blitzkrieg across the world, wiping out Neanderthals and other hominids like Denisovans. Vendramini paints a picture of evolution through extreme violence and survival, where humans came out on top only after years of war with a much stronger enemy. But how much of this theory actually stands up to scientific scrutiny? One of the biggest issues with Vendramini's theory is that it doesn't align with what we already know about human history. For instance, humans were already thriving in parts of the world, such as Australia, around 65,000 years ago, long before the Neanderthals supposedly reduced the human population to just 50 people in the Middle East. This alone challenges the idea that Homo sapiens were on the verge of extinction due to Neanderthal predation. Moreover, there's no solid genetic or archaeological evidence to back up the claim that Neanderthals systematically hunted humans for tens of thousands of years. Modern humans carry about 2 to 4% Neanderthal DNA, suggesting that instead of wiping each other out, Neanderthals and early humans were interbreeding. If they were killing each other off, that percentage would likely be much lower or non-existent. Instead, what we find is evidence of coexistence, sometimes even collaboration, between the two species. So while the Neanderthal predation theory makes for a thrilling story, it starts to crumble when faced with actual facts. The idea that Neanderthals were super predators hunting humans is a major leap from what the evidence actually shows. Neanderthals were indeed skilled hunters, but their prey mainly consisted of large animals like mammoths, bison, and deer. They used relatively simple weapons, like spears, to take down these creatures. But there's no indication that humans were on their menu in any significant way. In fact, early Homo sapiens were just as capable of hunting and defending themselves. We've found tools and weapons from both species that suggest they were well equipped to deal with the challenges of survival in their environment. If anything, Neanderthals and Homo sapiens would have seen each other as competition for food and territory, not as one species hunting the other to extinction. The idea that Neanderthals were nocturnal, predatory monsters is more fiction than fact. They were predators, yes, but not of humans. Instead, both species shared a common goal: survival. Another key aspect of Vendramini's theory is the so-called trauma theory, which suggests that humans evolved to become more aggressive and predatory as a response to being hunted by Neanderthals. He points to evidence of skull trauma found in both Neanderthal and early human remains as proof of violent clashes between the two species. But this interpretation is deeply flawed. First, trauma on ancient skeletons is not exclusive to Homo sapiens and Neanderthals. Violence was a part of life for many early human species. There are plenty of examples of human-on-human violence throughout history, and it's likely that Neanderthals experienced similar conflicts within their own communities. Just because we find trauma in their remains doesn't mean that there was a species-wide war between Neanderthals and early humans. Vendramini's theory twists these findings to fit his narrative of predation, but the reality is that early humans likely faced multiple threats. from animals, the environment, and even each other. The idea that Neanderthals and early humans were constantly at odds is also challenged by mounting evidence of interbreeding between the two species. In fact, genetic studies have shown that people of non-African descent carry traces of Neanderthal DNA, suggesting that interbreeding occurred over several generations. Archaeological discoveries, such as the 55,000-year-old skull found in Israel, support the idea that Neanderthals and Homo sapiens not only coexisted, but also had intimate relationships. These findings show that the story of human-Neanderthal interaction was much more complex than one of violent conflict. It's likely that they shared tools, hunting techniques, and even lived alongside one another in some areas. Rather than wiping each other out, the two species were blending together, with Neanderthal genes passing down through the generations. So while there may have been occasional skirmishes, the overall relationship between Neanderthals and early humans seems to have been much more nuanced. So if Neanderthals didn't meet their end by human hands, what caused their extinction? One of the most accepted theories is climate change. As the Ice Age came to an end, the changing environment made it harder for Neanderthals to survive. Their primary food sources, such as large game animals, began to disappear, and their tools and hunting techniques may not have adapted quickly enough. Another factor could have been the competition for resources. As Homo sapiens spread across Europe and Asia, they may have outcompeted Neanderthals for food and shelter. There's also the possibility that early humans brought diseases with them, to which Neanderthals had no immunity. These combined pressures likely led to the gradual decline of Neanderthal populations, rather than a dramatic extermination at the hands of Homo sapiens. In short, Neanderthals didn't go extinct because we hunted them down. They likely faced a range of challenges that Homo sapiens were better equipped to handle. At the end of the day, the Neanderthal predation theory falls apart when examined closely. There's no strong evidence to suggest that Neanderthals were apex predators hunting early humans to extinction. Instead, what we see is a much more balanced picture of interaction between the two species, one that involved cooperation, interbreeding, and competition, but not a full-scale war for survival. Humans didn't rise to dominance by violently wiping out every other hominid. We survived by adapting to our environment and learning to thrive in new conditions. The real story of human evolution is far more complex and, in many ways, even more interesting than a simple narrative of predator and prey. So while Vendramini's theory might make for an exciting horror movie plot, it's not the truth. And when it comes to understanding where we came from, we need to separate fact from fiction.